flip the stuff. If you go online, you can buy. If you go to eBay, you can actually buy my. There's some great little booklets I had to do for freelance on ab workouts that actually have me on the working out. My wife hasn't even seen them, and I was an absolute fitness obsessed weirdo. I mean, I was up at 5 in the morning and working out for hours. You can probably find pictures on the web. They aren't pretty. They're strange, disturbing. And it wasn't until I got out of Men's Health that I actually kind of lost that. I got fired I had a boss. I did a couple of stories, but the story that got me fired was the 10 worst campuses for men, which was a look at the PC laws that were going on at the time. I guess this has got to be 2000, like March of 2000, and it was like the kind of laws that I can't remember, but you know, things about you know, can I kiss you? Those things that were saying, like, if you're having a relationship with a girl on a date, you have to ask certain steps to go through. Like, I'm now going to touch your shoulder. So we did this whole story. We picked the 10 worst campuses. The new president at Rodale went to Georgetown, and that was #1. And I was out literally in like a month after that came out. To bring up an important point, you should always get fired. You should never quit it. I never quit a job in my life. You know, I was at Rodale, which was prevention in Men's Health for 10 years, so it's not like I'm a quitter or a firer. But I got fired, and I got fired from Stuff, and I got fired from Maxim. And the key is you're doing something wrong. If you're sticking around, you should be pretty fearless, not care about what people think, and you're doing something right if people are upset with you or don't get it. You should be patient. My problem is I was always impatient. I didn't like explaining things, and I just did them. And that's what got me, at the end, when I got to Stuff, which was a band. It's too bad you guys never saw this magazine from 2000 to 2003, because it was a beautiful, weird magazine. It was a copy of Maxim, and I was hired basically to curate it. You know, just make sure it sells. And I doubled the circulation, but I turned it into an incredibly twisted, perverse mess, a reflection of my mind. But it was, the more perverse you can get, the more of a higher moral ground you can, because it is that who's to say what's wrong, and you're pushing. As long as you keep pushing it, you can do whatever you want. But there's this moral thing going through it, and I made sure on every page there was a truth. And I did stories like, you know, I just got dumped by this girl, and it was like all these stupid magazines do, like, you know, how to get over a girl, the 10 ways to beat new girls, you know, blah, 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 how to get back with your ex, you know, less shag, more nag, whatever. I knew that what I felt when I got dumped was I felt like a leper. So I spent 6 months trying to find an actual leper, which I found one in Alamo, Texas. He had gotten leprosy playing football and had been cleated on the football field, and the feces of an armadillo got into his skin. That's how you get leprosy from armadillo feces. And it's the only, I think it's the only animal that transmits leprosy. Anyway, so this guy, Jose, flew him in, and it was like, the idea was, you know, the joke, like, you know, a leper walks into a bar. That was the title of it. So we went bar hopping. So I went bar hopping with a leper, and then I just talked to him about my problems, because I don't have any problems compared to you. And I'm like going, you know, like, I go, yeah, you know, she's like, yeah, she's dating somebody here. And then he's like, yeah, well, you know, I can't feel anything below my waist. I think she's seeing one of my researchers. He goes, yeah, you know these fingers? I can't smoke cigarettes because they burn my fingers. And I can't feel them. And I go, yeah. And then that became the story, was that he kept telling me these things that were just absolutely amazing. And what happens is you end up doing these stories. You do better stories when you get outside of yourself. You can take the essential problems that you have, but instead of writing about them, find something, a person, that you can then interview. And that whole thing was, if you feel like a leper, go interview a leper, and you don't feel like a leper. I ended up getting fired from Stuff after a midget. There's no point in ending that sentence. I've been called to speak at a symposium called How to Create Buzz, and it had all these big magazines. It had Rolling Stone, it had O, which was Oprah, and Glamour, and Stuff, and somebody else, I can't remember what. And I said, no, I go, if you have to have a symposium, I was very self-righteous, if you have to do a symposium on buzz, then you don't know what you're doing. Ha ha ha. And I said, bye. Then I'm thinking, that's really stupid. I should go up there and tell them how to, you know. And then, so I called, and they said, no, we've already filled your space. And they filled it with Maxim, who was upstairs in a bigger magazine. And I'm like, fuck, that sucks. And so I was at a bar, and I'm thinking, well, if I'm not allowed to speak there, I can be in the audience. But better than being in the audience, wouldn't it be better if there were midgets? So I bought three tickets, and then Bill Schultz, who's on Red Eye, who was a reporter at the time, got a ticket for him, and he came in, he was the midget corraller. Which is why one of the midgets was dressed in a bowler hat, another midget was preppy, and another midget was a gangster. And the whole idea was to create buzz. They would have clipboards, and they'd have their cell phones, and they'd have it on vibrate. And when the cell phone would go up, it would create buzz. And it would happen while these people were speaking. They also, to their own initiative, brought giant bags of potato chips. And they would just sit and just eat potato chips. It was just unbelievable. I was in LA interviewing Pamela Anderson for stuff, so it made me even look better because I wasn't even there. I was out in LA. And so what happened was people come into a place, probably that was maybe bigger than this. There's maybe 300 people, and we made sure the little guys came in separately because if they all came in at once, that would give the joke away. But if you're a bunch of journalists from all these different magazines, clearly you would have known if there were 3 midget journalists in the world of journalism. So they're kind of like staring there and looking, and they're like, something's up. But nobody. You have to do when you do stuff like this. There's truth behind this. Why didn't anybody say anything? Okay, if there are 3 little guys in here and they know something's up, why won't they say anything? They won't say anything because they don't want to appear offensive or bigoted. Like, oh, of course there are 3 little people who are bigoted. Of course there are. I'm just narrow-minded. I had no idea that there was such a, that's like 10% of our industry. So what happened was, Sidney Levy, who I think was the editor of Glamour, started speaking, and this guy's phone rang, he started talking, the little guy on the front row, and she said, you know, you gotta turn that off, and he says, is it because I'm short? And she said, she got out from behind where she was, she goes, I'm short, and then the other little guy just yells, Rolling Stone sucks. It wasn't what you call the most orchestrated prank, but it was fantastic. So it was after 15 minutes, security came, they were taken out, and it was at the time Discovery Channel was doing a documentary on magazines, so they had filmed it, and it got back to me. And what happened was the people in the audience immediately thought that the editor of Maxim had done this, and I wasn't there. I was in LA. So they went after him. He went to my office, and he was livid because he was pleading with these people. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And they're going. No one was believing them. So long story short, I get called to the office, and the president of the company, Dennis Publishing, says, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I said, "Because you would have said no." And that's when. And it was all over the papers. It was in page 6. It was in the New York Times. It was awesome. But you know, I lost my job. So you have to kind of like, you gotta weigh like personal gratification of being in the paper with your job. And I learned that it's more important to do things that make you happy. However, I illustrated the truth that you can create buzz. I had shanghaied that whole thing, and then.